Hey guys. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Mike, as usual. And today we're going to be breaking down Road to UFC 5 and 6. Now, this card is next week. It's next Sunday. It is going to be after the awesome pay-per-view that is UFC 280. This is I believe the second round of their tournament. And after this, I guess it's going to be the finals. And I believe the winner of each weight class, they go to the UFC. It's been a really cool tournament thus far. It's really cool to see them giving opportunities to people out in that area in Asia. People that we wouldn't normally see. We don't see a lot of Indian fighters. We don't see a lot of fighters from Indonesia. We don't see a lot of fighters from, I guess, Japan and China is becoming a bit more common now, right? Korea, I guess, a little bit. But it's great to see more of them. Thai fighters, we don't have a male Thai fighter so far in the UFC. We have Loma, of course, who's an animal in her own right. But hopefully we can get one in after this tournament. I'll be talking about him pretty soon. So the way we're going to do this is we'll start with the first one, Road to UFC 5. And then we're going to do Road to UFC 6 immediately after, all in one video. And then I'll have timestamps for you guys, as always, in case you only want to see a few things. Excuse me. All right, so let's get into it. Don't want to go too much longer than got to be less than an hour. I got to go to the vet at 3. So let's get into it. For this first fight, we've got Balajin versus Keisaku Sasu. Balajin is 23-3-0. He's 30 years old. He's 5'9" with a 69-inch reach. And I have him training out of Fight Ready over in Arizona. So that's a great camp to be at. And then on the other side, you've got Sasu. He's 9-2-1. He's 28 years old. So he's 2 years younger here. He's 5'5", so he's 4 inches shorter. And he's got a 69-inch reach as well, training out of, let me double check that one. I've got Master Japan as well. So this one's really interesting, and on first glance, I was thinking Balajin, right? Why? Because you look at Sasu, he came into his first Road to UFC fight. It was against a guy who's going to be fighting on the main fight of this card, and he was the favorite. He was like a -2 something favorite. I believe that's because he has a win over Ryoji Kudo. We've seen Kudo killing it on PFL recently. Well, he did lose his last one, but he did pretty well in the PFL, so I imagine that's something that may have affected that line at the time. So, you know, when I watched his fight and when he got submitted, he got taken down 3 times. He got up 2 times. And then on the third, the guy got right onto his back, tapped him out pretty damn quickly with a rear naked choke. It was not a great look. So I remembered that Balajin's a wrestler. I ran his tape and I saw he does have solid wrestling. It's what he does best. And it's what he's always going for. So I was thinking to myself, all right, it seems like this is a fight for Balajin to win with his grappling. He's got 11 submission wins. Sasu's only got 1 sub loss. It was that most recent one, but you know, he stepped up in the competition to fight a Road to UFC guy and he lost by sub. So it's hard to know. But another thing with Balajin is his most recent available tape is from 2020. He's had 2 fights and 2 wins since, so we don't know what he looks like right now. But I do know enough to say that I'm not going to be betting Balajin. Why? His striking. His striking is abysmal. I did the best I could to find something that looked good, and there's just not much. He throws really loopy. There's like 0 straight strikes that he's throwing. I just don't think he's a good striker whatsoever. He's very, very hittable. In his Kadyrov fight, he was getting pieced up on the feet. It's the wrestling that he really leans on. And look, if he can get it off here against Sasu, like Sasu's previous opponent, then sure, he should win. But also, Sasu historically doesn't show bad wrestling. He himself has wrestled. He himself has a pretty decent wrestling game. Top control's okay. His trips are pretty good. He's got a good double. I feel like Sasu, if he can use that wrestling defensively to just keep this up on the feet, and if Balajin can't get him down, I think this is Sasu all day long. I think Balajin's going to be in major trouble if he's stuck on the feet. I think Sasu's a much better striker here. Got to give the grappling edge to Balajin, but I think that the difference in striking is wider than the difference in grappling. So because of that, I'm going to be leaning Sasu. Will I play him? Don't know yet because we don't have odds. I have a feeling that he's going to be either a slight dog or maybe like at pick'em. At that price tag, I would play him. If we can get him at better dog money, even better. But yeah, I like Sasu, and we're going to move on. to the second fight of this card. This one I feel a bit more confident in. Here we've got Min Woo Kim versus Toshiomi Kazama. Kim is 10-2-0. He's 29 years old, 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. And I've got him training out of Bangtao MMA. Real quick, I'm pretty sure Kim did not fight in the last episode of Road to UFC, but I don't remember. Yeah, he did not. So Kim was supposed to fight Long Zhao, who's fighting someone else now, and he did not have a Road to UFC fight in his last one, but we do have some tape from him. Not a tremendous amount, but do what you can. The issue with Kim is that we don't have anything more recent than 2019 in regards to tape. So, because that's the last time he fought. He hasn't fought since 2019. And that's something I'm concerned about because of the cardio, right? How is he going to look coming back from 2019? How's his cardio going to look? What does Kazama do really well? Kazama will stick to you like glue and not let go. My guy Akira in the chat. What's up, Akira? That's one of my buddies from home. But yeah, I think that Kazama, honestly, other than his grappling, he can't really do anything well. He just holds on to you, sticks to you like glue, just doesn't let up. He wants to go to the ground. You watch his first fight on Road to UFC, and what did he do? He just held on for dear life the entire time. It ended up working out for him. He ended up being able to win that fight, but the output is tremendously bad. I mean, 3 rounds, he landed 10 distance strikes. I mean, he got 5 minutes of control time only, and only at distance he landed 10 strikes. So output is trash for Kazama. His striking is not great. And I don't know. I'm not convinced that he can be taking Kim down. Su Chol took him down, but that was in 2017. Chol isn't not a nobody. He just got a nice W in 1FC. And, you know, Kim's takedown defense hasn't been tested since, so that's a concern, right? If Kazama can do his thing, if he can implement his game, can he out-grapple Kim? I guess. I just don't think so. I think Kim has his own grappling game that's pretty good. He's got a nice back take, and I think the striking's not even close. I think it's Kim all day. Much crisper, much better. Good combos, nice 1-2, keeps it straight. He's good in the clinch, and I think that's really important because, like I said, Kazama's just going to be stuck to you like glue. So you want to be able to land there. You want to be able to land even if you're not at distance. And Kim can. I'm not sure what we're going to get odds-wise. It's hard for me to get a read. Looks like Tapology is liking Kim as well. But, yeah, I'm on the Kim side here. If I can get him at a playable line, I'm absolutely going to be playing him. I just think that he's the better fighter here. He just has to not get out-grappled. I don't like guys like Kazama who don't throw anything and just hang on you. If he was throwing stuff too, then all right, great. But it's just not enough for me. I think he's going to lose this fight. So I'm going to be going with Kim. And we can move on to the next one. All right, so this is the one that I'm probably most hyped for on this card on Road to UFC 5. So we've got Topnoi Kiwram versus Hyun Park. Kiwram is 8-3-0. He's 30 years old, 5'5" with a 67-inch reach. And he's training out of Bangtao Muay Thai. Park on the other side is 6-0, undefeated as a pro. He's 26 years old, so he's 4 years younger. He's 5'7", so he's got a 2-inch reach advantage. Height advantage, 66-inch reach, so he's given up 1 inch in reach. And Park is also actually training out of Bangtao MMA. The commentary team was talking about this during, I think it was Park's last fight. And it's going to be really interesting to see how these two match up. Park's Road to UFC fight, it only went 4 minutes. So any stats we have from that, it's not really that much, not really that telling. Park's opponent at that time was also a 5'2" guy who just wasn't that great. Like, it just wasn't a good matchup. So clearly Park was going to win that one. Kiwram on the other side had to fight Yuma Horiyuchi, a guy who's been fighting in LFA, a guy who is fighting actually tonight in LFA. And it was a good fight, and Kiwram had a good performance, and he showed a lot of good things. So, like I said, the first thing to notice here is that they're from the same camp. How is that going to play out? I have no idea. But I will say this. Kiwram is a confident, loud man. He's hilarious. He smokes cigarettes before his fights. It's like his thing, I guess. I like him to win this fight. I was looking at Park, and I needed to see if Park can wrestle, right? Because on the feet, Park is good too. He's also training from Bangtao, similar styles. But I still favor Kiwram. I think he's the better striker. I think he's faster. I think he carries more power. He seems more effective with the strikes. Good combinations. The output is better, in my opinion. and he mixes targets really clean. I mean, I just love the striking of Kiwram. It's hard not to like it. Park on the other side, also good striking, good jab, nice clinched knees. Combinations are decent. Leg kicks are decent. I just feel like he's a bit too hittable. He was getting hit by like a 5'5" guy on the regionals who was not very good. And I think if Kiwram's getting openings, he's to be landing and hurting you all day long. And Kiwram, 83% takedown defense against Yuma. Yuma got 2 of 12 takedowns. He did get taken down in 2020 against Pimentel. Pimentel's a BJJ black belt, though, and he still couldn't really control Kiwram. I just feel like in order to win this fight, Park would need to wrestle. He did take his opponent Saragih down, but again, it was pure muscle, and Saragih is 5'2", whereas Kiwram is not 5'2". Kiwram is not going to be easy to take down. I think Kiwram is going to hold it up on the feet. And on the feet, I think it's going to be Kiwram who's going to be finding more success. So I am going to be on the Kiwram side. I am very hyped to see him fight. Hopefully it's playable odds. It would be really cool to get a male fighter out of Thailand in the UFC. I don't believe we currently have one, so should be a good one. But we can move on to the next fight. All right, so for this one, we've got Quilun versus Sanguk Choi. Quilun is 16-8-0. He's 25 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach, and he's training out of Embo Fight Club / Bali MMA. I believe the reason a lot of the Chinese fighters are over at Bali, at least based off of what Laura Sanko was saying, is that I guess during COVID, like China locked them down. They couldn't train, so a lot of them were able to get out and go to Bali MMA, and that's where they were training during the whole quarantine and whatnot. So I guess that's why it seems like he's been training there more recently than Enbo. Choi on the other side is 5'1-0, 25 years old as well. He's 5'6", so he's 1 inch shorter. He's got a 64-inch reach, so he's got a 2-inch reach disadvantage. And I've got him training out of Korean Zombie Fight Club. So this one's interesting because everybody's high on Quilun, right? Quilun had that fight against Arison Ferreira on the Contender Series. A lot of people felt that Quilun won that. Then he had his fight against Wallen Del Rosario in the first round of Road to UFC. And, you know, he looked pretty good on the Contender Series. I honestly felt like in the Del Rosario fight, he didn't look fully himself. I'm looking real quick. I wanted to pull up who Choi's opponent was on his first Road to UFC fight, because I know Quilun, he fought, like I just said, Del Rosario. Right. So Choi fought Rama Subandi, also not a great fighter, 30-year-old, 5'5", training out of, I believe, Indonesia. I apologize. So, you know, it wasn't the most impressive win, and it was a decision win, just not that dominant, not that impressive. He did defend 8 of 9 takedowns. That was good. His output is very low. Out of 53 significant strikes that he landed, only 19 of them were at distance. I mean, I'm sorry, 19 of those were leg kicks. So just not a lot of striking at distance. He doesn't lead with the hands enough. A little bit meat and potatoes in terms of the striking. I'd say it's good, but just not like great, you know. Good right hand, and he mixes the kicks in well, I guess. Whereas Quilun, you know, I really like his striking. He's crisp, good kicks as well. Nice kick to the body. He counters really nicely. His output is better, but he seems to start a little slow. Del Rosario took him down in the first round and took his back. That wasn't a good look, but he does scramble really well. And I don't necessarily see Choi finding a lot of grappling success here. It's not something Choi really does. On the regional, his double looked solid, but his opponent was literally making his pro debut. And who knows how good that opponent really is. So yeah, I mean, I favor Quilun here. I think he's got Choi covered. I think he's a better striker. He's bigger, longer, younger. I think he's got the better grappling here if he decides to do it. The wrestling looked good against in his Dana White Contender Series fight against Ferreira. So yeah, I like Quilun. I don't think we're gonna get a playable line on him. I mean, let me pull it up real quick what he was in his last fight. So his last Road to UFC fight, he was a minus 610 favorite against Wallen Del Rosario. I expect that he's going to be a deep favorite again, so I'm not going to be playing him if that's the case. But I do think that Quilun has all the weapons he needs to win this fight. I don't necessarily think Choi's that good. So Quilun is the pick, probably going to be unplayable, and we're going to move on to the next fight. real quick. Just had to check something. All right, so back to this. For our last fight of UFC, road to UFC 5, we've got Zha Yi versus Koyomi Matsushima. Now, I get really confused because I know for the Chinese fighters, their last name is supposed to go first. So then when I see it on Tapology, I don't know which one's which. I think Yi is the last name. If I'm incorrect, I do apologize, but I'm pretty sure it's Zha Yi. He is 23-0, nice and shiny record. He's 25 years old, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach, and he's training out of Enbo Fight Club. Let me double check that. Yeah, that's what I have. So I imagine he's also at Bali MMA, just like Quilun. Matsushima on the other side, he's 13-5-0. He's 30 years old, so he's 5 years older. 5'7" with a 66-inch reach, so he is giving up 5 inches in reach here, quite a bit. And I've got him training out of Lotus, Setagaya, and his camp on Tapology, AACC. So on first glance, I was all over Matsushima. After tape, that's not really the case anymore. The main thing I would mention is just that there's not enough tape on Ja. There just isn't. We have his last UFC fight, which lasted 2 minutes, and that's pretty much all there is. Everything else isn't available. You can't find it. A lot of these WLF fights that these Chinese fighters are fighting it on, they're not available on YouTube or anywhere. So it's hard to really know. And because of that, I don't suggest anyone bets this. Again, we don't have lines. I don't know what we're working with. But no matter what the line is, how can you be confident in a play when you just don't have that much information on Zha Yi? That said, I'll say what I do know about him. I like his jab. His combinations are all right. They just seem a bit limited. Striking defense in his one UFC fight that lasted all of 2 minutes was 53%. So you can't really take anything from that. He did tap out Sasu. I think that's impressive. I think Sasu is better than he looked in that fight. And he looked that way because he fought a really good opponent in Yi. So let's see. So Yi, 3 takedowns in 2 minutes in that fight. He got the sub on the 3rd takedown. But what that kind of tells me, all right, if you needed 3 takedowns in 2 minutes, that means you're not holding the guy down, right? Does that mean that Sasu has good getup? Does that mean that Yi has bad offensive grappling or top control? It's hard to tell. His own takedown defense, 100% off of 1 takedown attempt from Sasu. He's got 11 submission wins on his record, 1 submission loss. Just there's not enough info here. Matsushima on the other side, there's a lot more on him. He uses his lead hand really well. Nice head kick, great body kick, good work in the pocket. He's very explosive. Output's pretty low, feints well, and 7 knockout wins of his own. He's been knocked out 4 times, though. That's not a good look. Kind of looks like he leans in when he strikes, which is not great. He has some good wins, though, and he's for sure fought the better competition. I mean, he fought over in ONE FC. He got the win over Marad Gafarov, who is an ex-champion over at ONE FC. He knocked him out. That was cool. He also fought Gary Tonin. I don't know how many people know him. He's fairly well known over in ONE FC. Very high-level BJJ guy. And I thought that fight was relevant, right? I thought it was relevant because Gary Tonin took his back twice. Gary Tonin had him in several sub attempts, and he got none of them. And Matsushima's never been submitted. I think that's important because Yi has 11 submission wins. So that seems to be his way to win. That's what he needed against Sasu. He doesn't seem like a great striker. And if that's his path and, Gary Tonin couldn't do it, I'm not sure that Yi's going to be able to submit Matsushima either. So I do still lean Matsushima, especially with the competition differences. Matsushima's actually out here fighting really good guys, whereas that's not really the case with Yi. I do want to look real quick. I don't remember who Matsushima's first road to UFC opponent was. Okay, yeah, it was JeongYeong Lee. That was actually a pretty good fight. It was a split decision. I thought Matsushima won it clearly, but it happens. But I do think that Matsushima's faced a better competition. I think he's more well-rounded. I think overall he's probably the better guy, but I'm probably not going to be able to bet anything because of the lack of information on Yi. So, yeah, that's it for Road to UFC 5. And now we are going to pull up Road to UFC 6 real quick. Oh, look, my beautiful face right up front. Give me a moment. All righty. All right, here we go. So this is Road to UFC 6. Road to UFC 6 is going to be believe right after Road to UFC 5. They're both on that Sunday. And it's also 5 fights and should be a really good one. Few guys coming in for the first time, few guys coming back from the tournament. One guy that we're looking at right now who fought on the Contender Series but missed the tournament. So a lot of good stuff to talk about. Real quick, I want to hit this. So okay. So here we've got Long Zhao versus Felipe Lima. Zhao is 24-7-0. He's 24 years old. That's crazy to have 32 fights, 31 fights at the age of 24 is nuts. 5'8" with a 66-inch reach. And I've got him training out of, let me pull it up. Jindu. Is that what it says on Tapology? Yes. So that's what we're going with. On the other side, you've got Lima. Lima is 11-1-0. He's 24 years old as well, 5'6", so he's 2 inches shorter. We don't have a reach for him, although I kind of have a feeling it's longer than Zhao. And he is training out of All Stars Training Center. That's a great camp for him, especially because Zhao does like to wrestle. So it's good to know that Lima is somewhere where wrestling is worked on quite a bit. And yeah, I was hesitant on Lima for a little while. And then after taping it for this show, I was like, all right, I like Lima. I do like Lima to win. Now, if you look at Long, we saw him on the Contender Series. He fought Christian Quinones. Quinones is a tough guy. Wasn't able to take Quinones down, really. He went 0-6 for takedowns there. Not a great look, but Quinones is a really good fighter. Now, that said, he still was able to land over 70 strikes at distance against a guy who was better than him, bigger than him, and had a reach advantage. But the striking is just very meat and potatoes. He likes that overhand right. He has a hard time finding the target. 40% striking accuracy, not really what you want to see. He is feinting a lot with his hands, so that's good. Good output. I would say he has the better output here. It's hard to know without numbers on Lima, but it's my eye test. And yeah, I just don't like the striking of Long, whereas Lima is a very dynamic striker. He's very explosive. He does a lot. Nice kicks. He's not always leading with the hands. I would like that a little bit more, but he does make it work. Good leg kicks. He can tend to wing, but when he's throwing straight, it's so nice. Like the 1-2 down the pipe is crazy clean. Nice combinations. Mixes targets really nicely. What I don't like is the amount of flying knees he's throwing in one fight. I hate flying knees. I hate spinning stuff. I don't think that it's effective for the most part. I don't like seeing it, but what can you do? He does make up for it. I think that his striking overall is really good, and I think it's pretty clear that he's the better striker here. He's more defensively sound, in my opinion, holds a nice high guard. He does lean into strikes sometimes. That concerns me, but I've seen the same kind of thing coming out of Long, so it shouldn't be a huge issue. And Lima has really good wrestling of his own. I really like what he does. Wraps up those ankles from top position. Nice transitions on top. His own takedown defense is pretty good, but not the best competition. But like I said, he's at a good camp for that kind of thing. So I do like Lima. I think he's got Long covered everywhere. I think he's the better striker with zero doubt. And I do think he's probably the better wrestler as well. So I am going to be playing Lima if we get him at a decent price. I don't know that we will because Tapology predictions are very in favor of Lima, but that is my pick. That's the side for me. And now we've got a fight that I'm actually really hyped for, and I'll explain why. So here we've got Kyung Pyo Kim versus Anshul Jubli. Kim is 11-3-0. He's 30 years old. He's 5'9" with a 71-inch reach, and I have him training out of Bangtao Muay Thai. On the other side, Jubli is 5-0, undefeated as a pro. He's 27 years old, so he's 3 years younger. He's 6 feet tall, so he's got a, 3-inch height advantage. And he's got a 69-inch reach, so he's given up 2 inches in reach. And in terms of where he trains, I have Tiger Muay Thai. So look, normally I find that on the Indian MMA scene, we've seen not good fighters, right? Anybody that's come out of there in Road to UFC, if you just look at the regionals, it's not good, guys. Even the competition of Jubli, like you check them out and it's god awful. So because of that, it's hard to tell how good he is because he's looking really good. He looks really good in his tape. He looks like a true prospect. just against abysmal competition, like absolutely terrible competition. Nobody even close to Kim. Whereas Kim's actually fighting decent people. Again, nobody really with too much. I mean, he has a loss to Armin Sarukian. There's that. He's definitely facing the better guys. Let me pull up their records so we can run through it real quick. So Kim won his last road to UFC fight in 30 seconds. He was the underdog there. I can't pronounce his opponent's name. I'm sorry. He's got a loss to Timur Nagibin. That's not the best look. Then the loss to Armin Sarukian. No super notable wins, I would say, but the records in general are just better than the guys that Anshul is facing. Anshul Jubli, he's fighting guys like Srikant Sekhar 5-4-0 and going to a decision. That was not such a whack fight. Not great. But look, there's a lot to like for Anshul. His striking is very solid, very clean, straight, good combinations, good output, mixes targets very well. His striking defense is solid. He likes to wrestle. He goes for it very often. He's got a nice trip, nice double. The transitions on the ground are good. But again, it's just so bad. I mean, like the opponents are so bad. His defensive grappling, takedown defense looked great against Srikant, who's 5-4-0 at the time and just not a high-level fighter. But, Jubli is definitely one of the best fighters I've personally seen from that region. Now, Kim on the other side, he's pretty solid. He's a very well-rounded fighter. I like him a lot. His road to UFC fight lasted all of 30 seconds. He won that one. Because of that, the stats given by UFC stats are not going to be useful here. But I think he's a slick striker himself. I mean, coming out of Bangtao Muay Thai, you would think so. He's got a nice front kick to the body, solid jab, good combinations. 6 knockout wins on his record. Jubli's got 1. Kim's been knocked out once himself. Jubli's never lost. And then the wrestling, right? This is where what you kind of have to look at here, because the striking's pretty even in my opinion. But because Kim's been using that striking against better competition and finding success, I kind of lead him in the striking. Now, looking at the grappling, Kim also is a very solid wrestler. His takedown entry is really good. His transitions on the ground are good. The back take is slick. So because of that, I don't see Jubli having any edge here. I think the striking is going to be close, really close. And I think maybe Jubli can pull ahead there. I'm just not convinced. I'm not. He is taller, but he doesn't have the reach advantage. And like I said, he's been looking great against really poor competition, whereas Kim has looked pretty good against better competition. So my pick is going to be Kim here. Will I get to a bet? I don't know. Again, it'll depend on the odds. I'm also I kind of like Anshul, like as a fan, just watching him, and I would love a fighter out of India and a good one at that. So I'm pretty tempted to just stay off of it as a fan and just watch Anshul. But if the line's good, as a responsible gambler, I'll have to play the guy who I think probably wins, which is Kim. So we'll move on to the next fight. I think this one's a little bit clearer. And I guess it seems like I'm disagreeing with the market right now, but we'll see what the market really looks like once we're talking odds. But for this fight, we've got Jeka Saragih versus Won Bin Kim. Sorry, real quick, closing these up. All right, yeah. Versus Won Bin Kim. Saragih is 12-2-0. He's 27 years old. 5'8" with a 69-inch reach, and I've got him training out of Storm 540. On the other side, we've got Won Bin Ki. He's 16-7-0. He's 31 years old, so he is 4 years older. He's 5'11", so he's got a 3-inch height advantage. He's got a 73-inch reach, so he's got a 4-inch reach advantage. And I have him training out of Korean Zombie MMA. So, I mean, I'll start real quick. I like Ki here. I like Ki here quite a bit. I'm not positive why the Tapology predictions are the way they are. So both these guys fought in the last round of Road to UFC, right? Let's pull it up real quick. Saragih, I feel like he fought the less good guy. He fought Pawan Man Singh, not a great fighter. And it's not like he even found all that much success on the feet. Most of Saragih's success there was on the ground. Now, Ki on the other side, he fought... okay, I remember this one. He fought Jinosuke Kashimura, right? And Kashimura, honestly, he's a really good grappler, but he kind of sucks at everything else. And he was just selling out for that. He was trying to get his ankle, I think, and Ki ended up just finishing him. Good luck for Ki, but it's hard to take anything from that fight because the opponent was questionable at best. just very one side, like limited was his opponent. But anyways, back to these two. Like I mentioned, like in his road to UFC fight, Saragih was just like, he was getting these takedowns, but it didn't look great. Didn't look very technical. It looked like he was muscling his opponent over. He did get 3 takedowns there. You know, it's good, but I just wasn't that impressed. He fought Anga. That was his opponent. Anga's not terrible. Probably one of the better guys who lost on the first round of road to UFC, but also not that great. We haven't seen the defensive grappling of Saragih tested all that much. Not even on the regionals, really. There wasn't much to see. But like I said, he's very limited to that. His striking just isn't that good. Saragih's winging a lot. Good leg kicks. The combinations are only okay. He really winds up on his strikes often. He can get very sloppy. His output is not good. 13 of 37 of his significant strikes were landed at distance. Only 13 significant strikes at distance. He does have 7 KO wins. His opponent, Ki, has 4 KO losses. So maybe that's something to think about. But I really, really don't see Saragih knocking out Ki. Ki has fought the better competition as well. He's got a fight against Rayun Oak, who won the one title last year. Since then, he lost the title back to Christian, but it's a good fight. It's a good fight and a good look to have a close fight against someone like that. And his striking is much better, is Ki. I mean, he's much more clean, much more straight, much more technical. I like the front kick, the jab, the 1-2, the combinations, mixes targets, goes to the body, goes to the legs. Just looks really great. And his wrestling has looked pretty good too. Nothing to write home about, but he can do it, and he can do it pretty well. He's got 2 submission wins. I like his back take quite a bit. He did give up a takedown in his first road to UFC fight. But like I mentioned, that guy, that was all he did. He was looking for the takedown and the sub, and Ki got right up. So I do think Ki wins this fight. I think he's got Saragih covered everywhere. I hope that the bookies go with the Tapology predictions on Saragih and we can get Ki at a good price. If that's the case, I'll be playing him certainly. But as of now, I don't know. But Ki is definitely the pick. And we're going to move on to our co-main event of Road to UFC 6. All right. So here we've got Rinya Nakamura versus Shohei Nose. Nakamura is 5-0, undefeated as a pro. He's 27 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach, and I've got him training out of LDH MMA. On the other side, you've got Nose. He's 9'2", 25 years old, so he's 2 years younger, 5'6", so he's 1 inch shorter, and he's got a 68-inch reach as well, and I have him training out of Master Japan Fukuoka. And all right, so this one, I like Nakamura quite a bit. Nakamura is a wrestler at heart. He's still very, very green to MMA. He does have a 5-0 record, but he literally made his pro debut in 2021. So he's had and won 5 fights since 2021. Before then, he was a high-level wrestler. He won the under-23 World Championships. He was looking to try to go for the Olympics, and then COVID hit, so he decided to go to MMA as well. I mean, instead, I believe that's the story with Bo Nickel and a few others too. So, you know, it's cool to see him now fighting instead in MMA. Nose on the other side, just not really sure what he does all that well. His striking, I hate his striking. The leg kicks are good, but he doesn't really lead with anything. He's very meat and potatoes. He barely uses his hands at all. Striking just seems super limited, and the output is crap. He's got 1 knockout win. It was a knee injury on his opponent. So take that as you may. His takedown entries are all right, which is not great considering this seems to be the way he wins fights, is wrestling and submissions. 6 sub wins, but he couldn't even take down his road to UFC opponent, Wu Baron. He scrambles off his back for subs pretty well. His defensive scrambling ability is pretty solid. But like even in the regionals, he was getting taken down. The Yoshino Hikara fight, he got taken down. Hikara honestly isn't that bad. He's 10-2-0 now. He's a pretty good fighter, actually. I checked him out. But he also got taken down by 40-year-old Okada in 2019. He did end up submitting Okada, but again, that wasn't a good look against someone like Nakamura, who's a high-level wrestler. And I also find that it tends to be hard to submit these wrestlers from what I can see, right? High-level wrestlers, you don't see them getting subbed as often. And I don't see what Nose can do here other than lock up a sub somehow. On the feet, it's not like Nakamura is some amazing striker. You know, he literally just transitioned to MMA last year. So he is very green. He is very limited in the striking as well. He's got 3 knockout wins, some of those ground and pound though. And I just feel like it's not really going to be a problem here because Nose doesn't really strike either. And he's just not that good at it. And in terms of grappling, I think it's Nakamura all day. So I do like Nakamura to win this fight. I think he probably just grounds out Nose. Maybe he can find a finish, ground and pound on the ground. But he's probably going to be unplayable. In his road to UFC debut, his first fight, let me pull up the opponent. He was a minus 800 favorite against Guzman. You know, rightfully so. Guzman wasn't very good, and he did finish him by key lock in round number 1. But that's just to say that I think we're going to get a really fat price tag on him. He'll probably be unaffordable. So I will probably pass, but I do think Nakamura wins this fight comfortably. And now we are up to the main event of Road to UFC 6. We're making fantastic time. And let's get right into this one. So we've got Lu Kai. This one I know how to say it right. So it's Kai Lu, and I guess so Lu's his last name. So Lu Kai. He's 8-3-0, 27 years old, 5'9" with a 72-inch reach, and I have him training out of Renegade Prague Gym. I do know that he's training over in the Czech Republic because that's where his wife is. At least that's what the commentary team was saying in his first fight for Road to UFC. On the other side here, you've got JeongYeong Lee. Sorry, just pulling up their last fights. Lee is 8-1-0. He's 26 years old, so he's 1 year younger. 5'10", so he's 1 inch taller. 73-inch reach, so he's got a 1-inch reach advantage. And I've got him training out of MWR and also Sen Gym. So I'm not confident about where he's training. Now, in terms of who they fought last, Lee, he fought Benji. If you guys remember Benji, it's because he was on the Contender Series against Olivier Murad, another fight that some felt that G won. And then G was fighting Lee for the first Road to UFC fight, and Lee armbarred him in less than a minute. In 36 seconds, he hit that armbar. It was clean, but it was because he got taken down, right? Lu Kai on the other side, I'm sorry. He fought Anga Hans. He was 13-2 at the time. Not a terrible fighter. This one was tough for me because I feel like these two guys are very similar in a lot of ways. The thing with Lee is that his Road to UFC fight lasted 30 seconds. So there's less than a minute of tape on him since 2018. The most complete video of him fighting is from 2018. And that's pretty old, right? We're already 4 years ahead of that. So it's hard to really be confident. But from what I see, in terms of the striking, I give the edge to Kai. Lee, his combinations are decent, but the output is low. He seems to miss a lot. And while I think his striking is good, I don't think it's great. Kai on the other side, I think is slightly better. He's got a nice 1-2, good combos as well. He's good in the pocket, very fast hands, which I like a lot. And I think he's got the better striking defense here. He showed 61% in his UFC fight. For Lee, I mean, those stats aren't going to be helpful for us. The fight lasted 36 seconds. But from his other tape, he does seem a little bit hittable. I haven't seen Lee go to the wrestling too much, and his takedown defense isn't great. So I have to imagine that he isn't the best wrestler. But he does have 3 submission wins, all by armbar. He did hit that armbar in his Road to UFC fight. He does it really fast. So that is the threat of trying to wrestle him. But, you know, Lu Kai, he's a good wrestler. He's got a good double leg. I really like the top control. Scoops that leg right up. He's got good takedown defense of his own, 100% in the UFC. He defended 4-4 against Anga. And he's got good stand-ups, too, on the regionals when he is taken down. I just feel like what this comes down to is that Lu Kai is more well-rounded. I really do think so. And I think he should be able to win this fight, whether it's on the feet or on the ground. If I bet him, it's going to have to be as an underdog. And it's going to be not the biggest bet because, again, we don't have much tape on Lee since 2018. And I don't like betting fights like that. But all those things said, I think Lu Kai is the better fighter. I think he should be able to win this. And as long as I can get a decent price tag, that's going to be what I play. So, yeah, that's it, guys. We just ran through both Road to UFC 5 and Road to UFC 6. I wrote down all of my leans, so I'll read through those real quick for anybody who doesn't want to sit here and listen to everything. These are not plays. We don't have odds yet. These are simply leans. Sasu, Kim, Kiwram, Quilun, and Matsushima for road to UFC 5. And for road to UFC 6, it's Lima, Kim, Ki, Nakashima, and Kai. All right. That's it, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Good luck tomorrow for UFC Vegas 62. Make sure to check out my breakdown and predictions video for that. We went live on Tuesday. Me, Gordo Gambles, and we were joined by UFC welterweight Matt Semmelsberger. That was super dope. Make sure to run that back before the fights. I do have a video out from last week for today's LFA 144. Make sure to check that out as well if you want to bet on that. And yeah, thank you guys all for tuning in. Have a good one.